Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online VGC 20 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out yet another Cinderace team. This Cinderace team was built by Graham Amodee, who finished second at the North American International Championships last year, also got top 16 at the World Championships this past year, and we've actually battled Graham on this channel, I think at least one time. Graham actually has his own YouTube channel, so I wanted to use this not only as a opportunity to try out his team, but also promote his channel. So check him out, linked in the description below. We did a collaboration video where we play with this team on his channel, and that'll be up probably in the next couple of days or so. So thanks to Graham for providing this team. Graham has definitely been one of the main users of Snorlax I can think of in this format, and he used his pretty interesting Snorlax set, not kind of the belly drum set that players are often used to seeing. Instead, it's the Curse Yawn set with Thick Fat and Citrus Berries, so definitely not exactly the most standard set. A bunch of other interesting things on this team, including the Defiant Braviary with Rock Slide, Assault Vest, Arcanine, and then Cinderace with actual Protect and no Pyro Ball. So it's definitely kind of a hyper-offensive team that wants to push the tempo, but you have Snorlax for kind of bulky support. So this is a rental team. Feel free to try it out yourselves, guys. The code is in the description below, as well as on the screen, and as well as a showdown export. Like I mentioned, moving forward with all Road to Ranks, for rental teams, I'll aim to not only have the code, but as well as a showdown export to make it more convenient for you all to follow along. So I hope you guys find that helpful. Thanks once again to Graham for providing the team, and guys, feel free to go check him out if you don't follow him already. I've linked his Twitter and his YouTube down in the description below. So let's just jump into today's episode. Question of the day, a more fun one that's not related to Pokemon as we jump into this first battle. Curious what your favorite drink is. It can be any kind of drink, and we're up against Mike, who is the 65th ranked player, so that's pretty exciting. I feel like I've played this team multiple times before. I just don't think it was from the same player, but it's obviously kind of a hard Trick Room team where you obviously set up Trick Room and try to sweep probably with the Weakness Policy Gigalith, with Bulldoze presumably coming out from Dusclops. So this is where Snorlax can put in work. We can yawn everything, and I think that's really helpful. Curse is also valuable. And I'm actually thinking of just leading Venusaur Snorlax. The logic behind this is I think my opponent's going to go with something like Redirection, like NDD for example, plus Hat or Dusclops. So I can go for Sleep Powder, and then the alternative is to go with Arcanine for Snarls. But like I could just put the NDD to sleep immediately and then go for a Curse if it's yeah, if it's the, for example, the Dusclops out. Cursing is pretty valuable here, especially because we are Thick Fat. We could even Gigantamax Snorlax here, which just seems kind of crazy, but I think it actually could work. I don't really see much value in bringing Whimsicott because I think it's likely my opponent does lead with that NDD. So I'm thinking Venusaur, Arcanine, Snorlax. Cinderace is a compelling option if we stall out the Dynamax. Yeah, especially because we have Steel Spike. Okay, so let's give this a try. I think Trick Room would be a slightly tough matchup to maneuver around, but we'll do our best. So, as always, if you guys enjoy Road Train, please show support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, as always, for watching. And obviously, this is going to be a really exciting week with the DLC coming out on Wednesday. If you haven't seen already, the Players' Cup Invitational is happening this weekend as well. 8 of the top VGC players are invited to play in, and I'm actually commentating the tournament. So, yeah, hope to see some of you guys there in the stream. That'll be on Saturday and Sunday. And, yeah, let's get into the first game today. So it's going to be NDD and Dusclops, which I can't say I'm too surprised by, but this is where I think Snorlax could actually come in huge. Because what I can do on turn 1 is just go straight for a Curse. So let's get the Curses going. And go for a Sleep Powder into the NDD. Actually, maybe into Dusclops. NDD might choose to actually not go for Follow Me and just go straight for a Psychic onto Venusaur instead, but I don't mind that if it means Dusclops falls asleep. So I figured this was our best lead because I think our opponent has to lead Whimsicott, or sorry, they have to lead NDD for the terrain to prevent Whimsicott from getting taunts off. They also want that redirection support to guarantee Trick Room. When you're running hard Trick Room, you pretty much need redirection to seal it up on turn 1. So Follow Me comes out, which is good. If we hit this Sleep Powder, it means NDD can't even wake up the subsequent turn. Fortunately, Sleep Powder is actually not going to work because of the safety goggles on the NDD, so a nice counter to the Venusaur here. So I won't be able to get Sleep off this turn. What makes this next turn pretty interesting, though, is if you swap out the NDD or you just stay in. Oh, and that's actually Will-O-Wisp coming out. Wow, so no Trick Room either. Okay. That Will-O-Wisp makes things a lot tougher for us. A lot of Dusclopses don't run it nowadays, but unfortunately our opponent just so happens to have it. So, perfect text from our opponent here, which makes this considerably harder. Still going to go for another Curse, though, and Would you follow me here, or would you just Psychic? So I think just Psychicing makes a lot of sense from my opponent's NDD. Yeah. I'll go for a second Curse, and I'll go for... The problem here is that we don't have anything to hit for super effective onto the Venusaur other than Max Darkness or Darkest Lariat from Snorlax, so that's kind of tricky. Yeah. I expect the Psychic to come out this turn. So I'm actually going to just launch Sleep Powder into Dusclops again. Because if NDD follow me's, and it opts for that, okay, that's fine. Like, Trick Room goes up now, and now Curselax is pretty much going to be the slowest Pokemon, aka the fastest Pokemon under Trick Room. So the subsequent turn, for example, I can swap out the Venusaur into my Arcanine, and you know, the Snorlax can still put on a lot of pressure with Yawn. Yep, so Trick Room goes up this time around. Now, I think my opponent this next turn stays in with the NDD. You don't want to risk getting put to sleep by a Sleep Powder. But I think Yawning that slot is relatively safe. It covers for a switch out option as well. And here I want to swap the Venusaur, I think, into the Arcanine, especially because we have the Assault Vest. Slow start to the game. My goal was originally to just put in a lot of work with Snorlax, but unfortunately that's not the case. Torkoal comes out, okay. But NDD is staying in. Assault Vest, Arcanine, a pretty solid Pokemon to have out, but it's going to still take a Psychic Terrain boosted Psychic, which doesn't feel super good. But, you know, Yawn puts on a little bit of pressure here against everything that my opponent has right now. We need to start doing damage, though, right? Because right now we just don't have any damage whatsoever. As NDD goes for another Follow Me, interesting. So the Follow Me here was basically to cover me spamming Sleep Powder again with Venusaur, but this time around, not going to go for that. Going to go for the Yawn instead, so now basically forces the NDD to switch out. Okay. With that, I think we actually need to start getting damage off, so I'm just going to go straight for a Double Edge and a Snarl here. Because I think NDD here swaps out, probably if I had to guess back out into Dusclops. You could also go into your last Pokemon, which I presume is the Gigalith. This match would have been so much easier. Oh, it actually stays in, interesting. So it's going to offer Helping Hand, trying to just get a huge Helping Hand Eruption off, which I think makes a lot of sense. We're faster though, of course, because of the -2 speed. It's actually a fair amount of damage from Double Edge too, and we're thick fat Snorlax, so Eruption won't do nearly as much now after getting that little bit of chunk damage off. Yeah, thick fat Snorlax takes that like an absolute champion. Nice. Alright, that's actually really, really good for us. Unfortunately, we don't have recovery with Snorlax other than the Citrus Berry, so we're kind of on a timer here. But it's a big Snarl coming off here, as well as Torkoal actually falls under 50%, which is excellent for us as we get a critical hit. And now NDD is also going to fall asleep. And that's really advantageous for us. So let's see. Burn comes out, NDD does fall asleep, and we know it has safety goggles, so no Lumberry or anything like that. Psychic Terrain is still up, so we can't click Extreme Speed with Arcanine. I think I just want to go for a Flare Blitz onto the NDD slot. The only problem in Flare Blitzing is that it could give my opponent a free switch in right now. There's only 2 turns of Trick Room, which is also good for us. Double Edge comes pretty close to just KOing Torkoal, honestly. Picking up a knockout on that would be huge. I might just go for Double Edge onto Torkoal and go for a Flare Blitz onto the NDD. Flare Blitz and Sun will knock out NDD. It'll do a ton of damage to anything that switches in. The one thing that might switch in that gives us problems is Gigalith. Okay, Dusclops switches in. That's fine. So this Snorlax is actually putting in so much work for us right now because now it's just able to outspeed our opponent's entire team. It's actually going to be a double switch. It makes me think Gigalith is coming out. Yeah, okay. That's tricky. The reason why that's tricky is because now my opponent can just go for the Bulldoze stuff. Yeah, they can Bulldoze and start putting in work. Flare Blitz and Sun still actually does a fair amount to low Gigalith, though. I'll take that. Burn would be huge, but no burn. However, it is the last turn of Trick Room, right, on our opponent's end, and we are at +2 defense with the Snorlax, so that's actually looking pretty solid. Wildlands Venusaur, I think, is actually really good. We could even consider maxing the Venusaur considering what my opponent has in the back. We just need to KO Dusclops, basically. So I'm actually going to just stay in. I'm going to go for a Darkest Lariat into the Dusclops to start getting damage off against it, and go for a Flare Blitz as well. I think here my opponent probably opts to go for like Bulldoze Rock Slide or Bulldoze Max Rockfall, but Big Fat Snorlax is showing how good it can be, right? I could have gotten more damage off against NDD with like Sleep Powder instead of going for Sleep Powders earlier on, but I didn't really mind that too much. Yeah. Unfortunately, this Snorlax kind of has the syndrome where it's like it would be so nice if we had something like Recycle just to get those berries back continuously, but in this position, doesn't really help out very much. I mean, one option we could consider is Gigantamaxing it, but I don't really like that too much when we don't do much against Gigalith. Although now that I think about it, I don't know, we could have gone for Gigantamax, gone for the Max Darkness, get that special defense drop off. Maybe there's some value to that. Either way, we'll get a Darkest Lariat off against this Dusclops. Not that much damage, but still an okay amount. There's the Bulldoze, no surprise there. I'm really curious who Gigalith targets here, though, because the Snorlax is actually giving my opponent a lot of trouble, right? So I would think maybe they'd want to put on the pressure and target the Snorlax, which means we'd get a Flare Blitz off, which would be huge. But they might also recognize, okay, Arcanized Assault Vest, this is a free Rockfall, Max Quake into that slot. There's little reason to not go for that. So, yep, there's Rockfall coming out. It does go into Snorlax, okay. And we survive because of the defense boost. Very nice. However, maybe surviving actually isn't really in our favor, because I don't know if 2 Flare Blitzes pick up the KO onto this Dusclops, which means my opponent can get another Trick Room up, which is not good for us. Yeah, that's actually not doing anything to Dusclops. Does Snorlax faint here? Oh, I think we might survive with 1 HP, which would actually be really bad for us. Because it means another Trick Room goes up. Oh. If Snorlax fainted there, that's a free switch in into the Score Bunny. That is so unfortunate. Wow. Oh my goodness. I mean, you have to target down Snorlax here, I think, right? Because I'm just going to go for Lariat and Flare Blitz into the Dusclops. I can't believe Snorlax hung on with 1 HP. The one time we don't want to survive, we do. But, yeah, here my opponent's place to just Rockfall into the Snorlax and set up Trick Room. So I don't really have a way around that, unfortunately. Or Quake, yeah, you get a special defense boost from that. But they target Arcanine. Wow. Interesting. I'm really surprised about that. I mean, targeting Snorlax is just so safe. Which means now we don't have to play against another Trick Room, which can be a really big deal. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Darkest Lariat picks up this KO. I'm really surprised about that. Okay. Nice. Alright, let's go, Snorlax. So it's 2 turns of Max over. This Gigalith obviously has a ton of boosts right now. Indidy's asleep, though, so do you bring out the Indy or bring out the Torkoal? I think you're pretty much forced to bring out Indy. We have Cinderace, which has Max Steel Spike, and we have Leaf Storm on the Venusaur. So I thought if my opponent just KOs the Snorlax and gets Trick Room up, there's pretty much no way to win because we have all really fast Pokemon. So surprising turn there, but works out in our favor, I would say. We haven't Dynamaxed yet, which is also advantageous. Yep, so they bring out Indy. They obviously don't want to change the weather, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, as much as I don't want to just risk missing Sleep Powder, that just might be our best play. Because what we could do is just go for a Max Darkness, pick up the KO onto Indeedee, and Sleep Powder into the Gigalith. Then Gigalith's Max ends. The alternative play would be to just go for damage onto the Gigalith with the double up. For example, Max, go for Steel Spike, and Leaf Storm. But then Indeedee could wake up the subsequent turn. Yeah, so we have Wide Lens. It's in our favor most of the time. I'm going to go for the Max Darkness and the Sleep Powder here. This also covers for the option of Gigalith Max Guarding. I don't think it will. But my opponent could say, okay, I want to Max Guard here because I want to try to wake up with Indeedee. You're going to double up into me. So by Max Guarding, you waste the turn of my sleep. And then the following turn, if the Indeedee wakes up, you can just follow me. I don't know. Maybe Max Knuckle or Max Darkness. Sorry, Max Steel Spike and Leaf Storm was the correct play. Because Leaf Storm is, what, 99% accurate with Wide Lens? Okay, so Indeedee stays asleep. No Protect from the Gigalith, so I think it comes down if we hit the Sleep Powder. I think if we do, we win the game. So let's see. Alright, Max Darkness comes out. Should pick up the KO onto Indeedee, get that special defense drop onto the Gigalith as well. So it's back at neutral now. And Sun will be up in the subsequent turn. So let's see if we can hit Sleep Powder. Sleep Powder connects, very nice. I don't know, maybe just doubling up with damage would have been better. I didn't even know if Steel Spike Leaf Storm was picking up the KO, which is why I was a little bit more hesitant to go for that play. But that's obviously a very good turn for us. It's still actually not necessarily over. Actually, no, Torkoal's taking so much damage. I think now we're actually free to just go for a Max Steel Spike into like Gigalith and Earth Power. And I think Life Orb Steel Spike picks up the KO. Earth Power should definitely KO the Torkoal here. This was a really intense game. But Snorlax actually put in so much work despite getting burned, right? It had Yawn pressure. It baited my opponent's Indie and staying in, which was a really big deal. So, yeah, I think it's safe to just go for Steel Spike on a Gigalith and Earth Power into the Torkoal. Unless Torkoal somehow survives an Earth Power, but Torkoal's special defense is so poor, I don't think so. Earth Power comes out, beautiful. So that should seal up the game now. I want to say Max Steel Spike is a one-hit KO, especially with Libero. So, yeah, we somehow bring Cinderace into a Trick Room matchup, and it actually ends up working out alright. But I think leading into hard Trick Room is really important. You have to lead something that gives you good momentum early on. So that's exactly why I ended up going with the Venusaur and the Indeedee. And even though our opponent had Safety Goggles and Will-O-Wisp, it still ended up working out alright. And, yeah, I mean, Cinderace did the bulk of the damage in this game, but I cannot stress how important Snorlax was in this matchup, right? Getting those 2 curses meant that we were able to outspeed the entire team on the opposing end. So it's a really interesting answer to Trick Room. You don't see it very often, but yeah, the Thick Fat is also such a big deal, right? We took so little damage from that Helping Hand Eruption, so really happy to feature the Snorlax set immediately in this first game. Cinderace, obviously, just an excellent late-game sweeper. A lot of players, when they use Cinderaces nowadays, they tend to Dynamax immediately, and you know, try to get as much damage off as possible. But, for example, if I just let Cinderaces in this game, I can maybe pick up a knockout onto Indeedee, but then I give my opponent a free switch in. So I think that episode, or that game, is a good lesson on how you want to play against hard Trick Room. Yawn is a really, really good move against hard Trick Room, so if you have it on something like Togekiss or Snorlax, then you can basically put your opponent in a really tough spot, because with teams like that, it's often going to be a passive lead, because you want to guarantee Trick Room up, but then because you lead passively, then you're often looking for that free switch in into your main sweepers in like Gigalith, Torkoal, or Hatterene. But with Yawn, you can just constantly keep yawning to make them, you know, not be able to just get a free switch in immediately. Alright, we're going to find our next opponent of the day. Let's see if Snorlax can put in some work once again. There is some potential Trick Room here, so maybe, but bunch of Pokemon that Snorlax doesn't really like to go up against. This feels like a decent game for Cinderace, especially with Max Darkness. Like, we could just Max Darkness into the Dusclops. We also have Taunt on Whimsicott, right? It's like, what we could go with this time is just lead Whimsicott Cinderace. I think Venusaur is a must-bring because of the Rotom Wash. There's no Intimidate from our opponent's end, so I don't think Braviary really has much value. Arcanine could be valuable solely for Snarls. I don't know, I mean, Snorlax is still interesting here with Yawn pressure, because my opponent's team is relatively physical. Like, the main sweepers feel pretty physical. I'm thinking if I even need to lead the Whimsicott, because the Taunt from it is so obvious. Like, if I don't want to go with the Whimsicott, because, like, Cinderace already naturally outspeeds my opponent's entire team, right? So, like, we don't necessarily need Tailwind to support it, because they're a pretty bulky and slow team. So we could go with, like, Whimsicott, Venusaur. Sorry, Cinderace, Venusaur. And in the back, that last game was great for Snorlax. I honestly just want to feature it more. And then Assault Vest Arcanine is always fun as well. I mean, Braviary has close combat here, but yeah, I don't think we need to bring it. I think the one tricky thing we have to watch out for, actually, the more I think about it, is that we don't have any special attackers on this team, pretty much. So, because we don't have any special attackers, other than Venusaur, which can't touch Corviknight at all, the big question is how do we actually deal with Corviknight? Especially because the Cinderace actually does not have a Fire-type attack. However, my opponent might be thinking, oh, I'm going up against the Cinderace, how can I bring a Corviknight into this matchup? So we'll have to see. But if Corviknight does come out, we're going to have to play pretty carefully around it. For example, maybe put it to sleep with Yawn. Of course, Corviknights do carry Lumberry often, so I have to play around that. It's going to be Rotom and Dusclops, though, which I don't think I mind very much. Venusaur puts on a ton of pressure here, as well as Cinderace. So, like, turn one, what I'm actually thinking is just go Max Knuckle into the Rotom and Sleep Powder into Dusclops. The only worry about that is if they, like, ally switch. But if they ally switch with Dusclops, Rotom gets put to sleep. Yeah. I don't mind going for Max Knuckle. Max Darkness is also interesting, because then we lower the Venusaur special defense stat. Or sorry, the Dusclops' special defense stat. We could even Darkness into the Dusclops. I actually think we want to prioritize Dusclops a little bit more right now. Yeah. So I'm actually just going to Sleep Powder and Max Darkness to Dusclops, and then probably double up into it the next turn. Yeah, Rotom switches out, which isn't a surprise. Corviknight maybe, if it's here? Yep. So my opponent does have Corviknight. If we had a Fire-type attack, I actually think this game would just be over off this turn one. Because the tricky thing is now we don't have Max Flare to deal with the Corviknight. So, I think Arcanine's going to have to do some heavy lifting here. It also depends on the Corviknight set, for example. If it's not, like, Iron Defense, Body Press, Snorlax can actually wall it by going for a couple of boosts. So we got a Max Darkness off. Yeah. So I don't regret this play too much. I think the Rotom there was likely to switch out. Wait, I did not realize it does that much damage. We could have just gone for probably, like, Earth Power for the KO. Interesting. That's impressive bulk. Or I should say impressive damage. Alright, let's see if Sleep Powder connects. Nice. Okay, so Venusaur goes 2 for 2 on Sleep Powders. That's why Wide Lens is, you know, such an incredible item. Okay. Yep, and does still have Stasis Sleep for the first turn. So, I mean, I feel like the Corviknight probably is Lum Berry, and I don't have a great Rotom matchup if I lose Venusaur. So I might actually just switch Venusaur out into Snorlax right now. And go for a Steel Spike. That gets us a defense boost. Yeah, I could allow Trick Room to go up theoretically, but I think it's better if we don't. Steel Spike KOs Dusclops. We get a defense boost in the Snorlax, which means it's, you know, even bulkier. And then in the subsequent turn, we can go for a Knuckle to increase its attack as well. So one interesting thing that you can do with this team, as you see, is give the Snorlax boosts through Steel Spike and Knuckle. You know, those are both really, really valuable boosts. You get them anyway from Curse, but by just getting it off with the Cinderace, it's also really sweet. If we had Max Flare here, I think it would have been a very clear Max Flare, Leaf Storm, just try to pick up a double KO, but obviously we don't. Corviknight doesn't Dynamax either, so I'm really curious who my opponent commits to maxing in this game. It might be that Rotom. Yeah, so without the lack of a Fire-type attack makes the Corviknight matchup pretty tricky, so even though I think turn 1 went really well for us, like I said, we have to play carefully around this Corviknight. See what he opts for. Oh, it's Iron Defense. I actually think it's going to be so hard to beat this because this is an entirely physical team. Oh, man. So this is a good example of Corviknight just being very good. Because it can 1v6 this team, essentially. Like, if you look at what we have, there's Taunt. You can put it to sleep. Now, I don't want to count us out just yet because Snorlax has Darkest Lariat, which is actually a really big deal, right? It ignores those boosts. But it makes this really tricky. So we have a special defense drop on Cinderace. I think we target the Rotom here, so I'm going to go for a Max Knuckle onto the Rotom and go for a Yawn onto the Corviknight. Because one way we can also deal with Corviknight is put it to sleep. Now, I think it's going to have a Lum Berry, but what the Yawn accomplishes is it gets rid of the Lum Berry, and then Venusaur can come in and just go for a Sleep Powder onto it. However, if it's Iron Defense, it means it likely has Body Press as well, which means you actually do a fair amount of damage into my Snorlax. So, yeah, not exactly what we want to see. But I'll at least get my Snorlax a attack boost here as well, so it's at +1 attack, +1 defense. This is going to do a ton of damage to Rotom. Yep, not bad. Still no Dynamax, which is also interesting. And if my opponent's Rotom doesn't actually get the one-hit KO here, like if Corviknight tries to boost up again, then we'll actually get another attack off with a Cinderace, which would be quite nice. Because we can launch like a high jump kick into Rotom. Okay, Rotom's actually going to opt a Nasty Plot. Makes sense. I wonder if Corviknight tries to Tailwind here then, because of that. No, it goes for Roost. Huh. Okay. Roost, Iron Defense. So I don't know the rest of the moves. High jump kicking here is super obvious into the Rotom. I don't think it has Tailwind. Because of... I mean, you could really easily high jump kick and then, like, go for an attack onto Cinderace. So I think I might just protect with the Cinderace here and go for a... Curse. Or we can just Yawn the Rotom. But if I'm expecting a Protect, I think Curse is fine. Yeah, if Rotom protects, that actually puts us in a phenomenal spot, I think. Relatively. It's still tough because we still have to play against Corviknight, but try my best. I just want to change to normal type so that I'm not hit by a super effective Brave Bird. I mean, also just for the Protect. Okay, Rotom didn't end up protecting, but he just opted to Thunderbolt into Cinderace. Okay. Another Iron Defense comes out from Corviknight, so it's at +4 defense now. Oh, I mean, if Snorlax gets fully set up, I think Snorlax still wins against it, because we have Darkest Lariat. Oh, I guess we don't have Recovery, but the goal is to have enough Pokemon to deal with the Corviknight, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see if it is Lum Berried. It's not. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's go for a high jump kick here onto Rotom then, and go for another Curse. The fact that it's not Lum is a big deal, because we can just keep putting it to sleep. But, like I said, Corviknight was going to be a really tough matchup. We do have Arcanine with Flare Blitz, but the thing is that it's not going to do very much after these Iron Defense boosts, plus, like, Arcanine's going to come in and just intimidate itself. So, it's a little bit early to be saying this, but I think Timer is also a potential win condition right now. So it's something that we'll have to keep in mind. Okay, so no Protect from Rotom. High Jump should pick up the knock, especially because we have the attack boost here. No miss, which is great. Of course, our opponent hasn't Dynamaxed yet either, right? So that's kind of a big deal, but the Snorlax has gotten 2 curses off, so +2 attack, +2 defense, and because of the Steel Spike and the Knuckle Boost, it's actually a +3 for both, so we're actually not that far behind the Corviknight. Yeah. I mean, Darkest Lariat ignoring the drops, or sorry, the boost is, I think, a really big deal here as well. Let's see. We're up 4-2. I think I've played this as well as I really could want to ask for, but it's still tricky. I think I'm actually just going to High Jump Kick into the Excadrill outright here. Even if he protects, whatever, I'll get a Curse off, and then I have Arcanine in the back. Like, I think here, I mean, my opponent hasn't maxed out, so Excadrill does opt for the Protect, but that's fine. Worst case is the Corviknight waking up. So I could have protected with my Cinderace there, but I think I wanted to respect the Swords Dance from Excadrill. Yeah, so he's finally gonna opt for Brave Bird. So we've seen Brave Bird, Iron Defense, Roost. So you would think the last one's Body Press. So the worst case scenario happens there, but it's still not even that bad, I think. Because now I get Arcanine in for free. And I get another Curse up. And so with Arcanine out, I think what I want to do is just double up onto the Excadrill. Protect there would have been very advantageous for us, but I think that play was still worth it to go for. Okay, so it's Leftovers Corviknight. Interesting. Alright. Well, I'm glad I brought Snorlax, because without Snorlax, we would have had legit no shot at this game. Yeah. I could bring in Venusaur, but no, Venusaur's just going to eat up a Brave Bird, which is super bad, I think. So I think I'm just going to go Flare Blitz, Darkest Lariat into the Excadrill here. Unfortunately, we have to intimidate ourselves, but we also intimidate the Excadrill, which is valuable. Sorry, the lighting is kind of weird today, by the way. I normally record during the daytime, but I'm doing it at night right now. It's my first time setting it up, or recording at night here. Yeah, I think we'll just Flare Blitz. Let me just double check. Flare Blitz and -1 attack. Yeah, he's at +4 attack, right? That does a lot. I'm just gonna Flare Blitz and Darkest Lariat here. My opponent still wasn't maxed, which is interesting, right? Like, who do you max? Alright, the lighting really needs to stop doing that. Because I would think you would actually maybe consider maxing the Corviknight at this point, which would be interesting. Alright. See if Snorlax can clutch it out for us in this one. Nope, they max Excadrill still. Okay. Okay. I think the lighting from the game is affecting like how my camera is receiving my webcam right now, which is super funky, so I apologize for that. Let's see if it's weakness policy Excadrill. Nope. Okay, he's gonna offer Rockfall, it's fine. I don't think Darkest Lariat KOs. Wow, I didn't even KO Arcanine though, jeez. This Arcanine's so good. I mean, it's obviously bulky Arcanine, but it's Assault Vest. Okay, it does have Body Press. Let's see how much this does. Oh, it actually targets Arcanine. Okay, that's fine. In the meanwhile, I'm tired of my webcam flickering like the way it is, so I'm gonna just try to adjust something real quick. Alright. No more color, unfortunately, but hopefully it stops flickering as much. Okay, so we know Corviknight's full moveset now. Iron Defense, Body Press, Roost, and Brave Bird. That's not a surprising moveset by any means, but it's good to confirm that. Yeah, I think we just go for the Sleep Powder here onto the Corviknight and KO the Excadrill with Darkest Lariat. And then go from there. Like I said, you know, if I wanted to beat this Corviknight, I had to come up with a solution against it. This is the best solution I have. I really don't know what else we could even try to go for, which I think this is also a good example. We kind of highlighted this yesterday as Excadrill actually max guards. Okay, so let's see if we hit the Sleep Powder. Nice, Venusaur is super clutch for us today. Hits 3 for 3 on Sleep Powders. I mean, that's why you run Wide Lens, but still, it's like scary because if we miss that, Brave Bird just probably KOs us. So that's really good. Okay. Now we can just go for an Earth Power into the Excadrill. I think Curslax beats this Corviknight one-on-one, I would think. Especially because it's leftovers Corviknight. Earth Power. It might be better just to go for yet another Curse right now. Because, like, if Corviknight gets an early wake-up, it's just going to roost everything back anyway. Okay, he's going to max Quake. I feel like Steel Spiking is a little better there. Yeah, Venusaur hangs on after the Intimidate. Brilliant. So we pick up the KO onto Excadrill. That special defense boost does not help the Corviknight at all. Unfortunately, Venusaur, I mean, does no damage. Like, we can only Leaf Storm Corviknight. So I might not even try to Leaf Storm earlier on because I want to save all my damage for, like, one turn, basically. Of course, if he wakes up, I can always go for a Sleep Powder. It stays asleep. Okay. So the Snorlax is almost at full boosts right now, which is crazy. Fortunately, we do have Darkest Lariat, right? Without it, we'd have no shot. And my lighting is still acting up. Okay. I'll have to adjust that for the next episode. But these have been some really good games, I think. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying them. Okay. He's at +4. I said only +4, but it's still a big deal. One more Curse gets us to full. I believe we still have our Berry as well. Yeah, that's good. If I had Protect, I'd Protect here just to scout out for Corviknight waking up. I'm just gonna go for Sleep Powder here and go for another Curse. Yeah, I mean, that gets us fully boosted, so, like, our Darkest Lariats would be doing maximum damage. And Corviknight stays asleep, okay. I wouldn't have minded it waking up there if it targeted the Venusaur, but now we know that the Corviknight's guaranteed to wake up. Yeah, which means I can just Yawn this slot this next turn. Yeah. And once I get that Yawn off, Snorlax should just Darkest Lariat for the KO. So I think we are in actually pretty good shape as long as we don't get crit by a Body Press. That's all we need to avoid. Yeah, might as well Leaf Storm, get like 5% of damage off, and Yawn into the Corviknight. And once that's asleep, I think 2 Darkest Lariats hopefully picks up the KO at this point. We'll have to see. It does so little damage. At that point, there was pretty much no point in even going for any damage. Yeah, he's gonna offer the Brave Bird onto Venusaur. Yep. But this Snorlax was so good. Okay. Nice. We get the Yawn off. Perfect. So, I think we avoid 1 crit this turn and we're good. Because 2 Darkest Lariats... actually, I guess the question is if 2 Darkest Lariats KOs a Corviknight. I mean, you have to Body Press here, but... yeah, we're so boosted up. Alright, let's see. Can Snorlax clutch it out for us? I feel good, but anything can happen right now. Yep, so they're just going to go for Body Press. Let's see how much this does. The answer, not very much damage. It doesn't even activate our Berry. Snorlax gets the Darkest Lariat off. That's a 2-hit KO. Beautiful. So the fact it ended up being Lefty's Corviknight, not Lum, was also a really good deal for us here. But, yeah, I said we didn't have many Corviknight answers. This is the Corviknight answer. Curslax, +6 attack, +6 defense, ends up getting fully boosted in this game, and completely demolishes this game for us. So, yeah, I think, you know, my opponent never ended up maxing with Excadrill was an interesting choice, because I thought, like, maxing with Rotom would have actually made a lot of sense, especially after getting that Nasty Plot off. It allows you to survive that high jump kick, most likely. Actually, I'm not sure. We had an attack boost, so maybe not. But, yeah, if you can survive, that's kind of a big deal. And, yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, the Snorlax was just incredible for us, so thank you, Graham, for, yeah, showing me just how good Snorlax can be. So, anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Sorry for the weird lighting today. I'll make sure that's fixed, or I'll just make sure I'll record in the daytime so I don't have to use the lighting in this room. And I haven't fully configured my lighting setup since I moved back pretty recently, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. DLC is coming out this week, so I'm very excited to make some new content surrounding that stuff. I'll be streaming, of course, weekly on Twitch, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, so hope to see some of you there. Twitch.tv/CybertronVGC. Leave a like as always if you enjoyed. Thanks to Graham for the team. Check him out. Linked in the description below. And, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. All right, peace.